Have you ever wondered if the magic of Las Vegas has been quietly replaced by something far less enchanting? Raw corporate greed? Once celebrated as a playground of cheap buffets, free drinks, and endless fun, the Las Vegas Strip now feels more like a trap, where every coffee, every room, every slice of pizza comes with a hidden sting. In a jaw-dropping interview, MGM Resorts CEO nearly let the truth slip, coming dangerously close to saying the one word that could unravel it all: greed. Stick around, because we're about to expose the price-gouging secrets Las Vegas doesn't want you to know. Picture the CNBC studio. Bright lights, cameras rolling, MGM Resorts International CEO, Bill Hornbuckle, confidently fielding questions about Las Vegas. Then it happened. In front of millions, as he discussed a $12 Starbucks coffee at the budget-friendly Excalibur Hotel, he stumbled. His tongue slipped just enough to reveal the unspoken truth. He almost admitted, "We've gotten greedy." The word nearly escaped, and if it had, it would have been the headline on every business page in America. Why does this moment matter? Because it's not just about an overpriced coffee, it's about what that coffee represents. Las Vegas's transformation from a place where regular folks could live like royalty into a playground reserved for those willing to swallow inflated prices without question. For decades, the city's charm was its value. $5 steak dinners, $9.99 buffets, $1 margaritas. Las Vegas thrived on the promise of cheap thrills and world-class entertainment. Hornbuckle's near confession was a crack in the armor, a rare moment where a top executive almost admitted this tradition has been abandoned for naked profit. Even more telling is what happened next. The interviewer quickly stepped in, cutting him off before he could fully say greed. This wasn't just a coincidence, it was damage control. A CEO saying the quiet part out loud on live TV would send shockwaves through the stock market, rattle investors, and spark public outrage. Imagine the fallout. MGM's stock tanking, politicians demanding answers, tourists questioning if they've been played for fools. Yet, the moment was buried in polite chatter, the narrative carefully steered back to value creation and long-term strategy. But the audience who caught that flicker of hesitation understood. They glimpsed a sliver of honesty in a city built on illusion. This is the smoking gun, proof that behind the neon and marketing, executives know exactly what they're doing. They've traded loyalty and fairness for short-term revenue and record profits. If a CEO nearly admitted it once, you have to wonder, what other truths are still being hidden? So, if a single slip of the tongue can reveal this much, what else are they hiding about Las Vegas's decline? Walk down the Las Vegas Strip on a Friday night in 2025, and you'll notice something eerie. Empty sidewalks, quiet casinos, and a taxi line moving a bit too fast. This isn't the Las Vegas of memory. Official data confirms what your eyes already tell you. Visitor numbers in the first half of 2025 plummeted by over 7% compared to the previous year. June and July alone saw double-digit drops, 11% and 12%, hammering the summer tourism season. For a city that lives on foot traffic, these numbers are staggering. Yet, in his CNBC interview, CEO Bill Hornbuckle brushed off these stats with a cherry-picked example. "We had 98% occupancy last weekend." Sounds impressive until you realize he's talking about a holiday weekend when rooms naturally sell out. It's like bragging your restaurant was full on Thanksgiving. Convenient but hardly representative. By focusing on an outlier, he dodged the bigger issue. Las Vegas is losing visitors month after month. January, February, March, April, all down. The picture is clear. The crowds are thinning. Why? For one, the cost of a trip has skyrocketed. Resort fees turn a $45 room at Excalibur into nearly $90. Parking, once free, now costs extra. A family of 4 can easily drop over $100 on burgers and fries at a food court. The promise of affordable indulgence is gone, and tourists feel it in their wallets. Add in higher airfares, rising inflation, and the growing perception that Las Vegas no longer delivers value, and many travelers are choosing elsewhere. Laughlin, Reno, or just staying home. The consequences ripple. Fewer visitors mean less business for cab drivers, small restaurants, and off-strip hotels that can't rely on global conventions or celebrity residencies to fill the void. Service workers, already stretched thin by housing costs and stagnant wages, see their hours cut. Meanwhile, investors hear only the polished version. Record revenue from luxury properties and overseas markets. But ask a cocktail waitress on the Strip, and she'll tell you the truth. Tips are down, tables are empty, and Las Vegas just feels different. This is the real divide. On paper, corporate profits soar. On the ground, locals feel the squeeze, and tourists quietly vanish. If visitor numbers keep sliding, no amount of glossy marketing can hide the decline. Imagine walking into the Excalibur, one of the Strip's value hotels, to start your morning with a simple coffee. You hand over your card, and the cashier says, "That'll be $12. For a basic Starbucks coffee, no gold leaf, no celebrity barista, just a cup that costs less than half that outside the Strip." This single transaction is a symbol of everything wrong with Las Vegas today. A price gouging playbook that extends from hotel rooms to bottled water. Bill Hornbuckle himself used this example in his CNBC interview, nearly admitting, "Maybe we've gotten greedy." Think about that. A CEO openly acknowledging that charging $12 for a coffee at a budget hotel might have crossed a line. Yet, instead of course-correcting, they've doubled down. A room advertised at $45 balloons to nearly $90 with resort fees and taxes. A fast food meal that costs $8 back home jumps to $18 at a casino food court. Even a bottle of water from a vending machine can run $7. This isn't about luxury anymore. It's about squeezing every penny from every guest at every step. Why does this matter? Because value was the soul of Las Vegas. People came not just for the lights and shows, but because they felt they were getting a deal. Gambling losses were offset by cheap food and freebies. That psychological trick kept visitors coming back. Now that balance is broken. When guests feel fleeced before they even hit the casino floor, resentment builds. And resentment doesn't gamble. The consequences are clear. Middle-class families, once the backbone of Las Vegas tourism, are being priced out. Convention-goers grumble about overpriced coffee and snacks. Locals avoid the Strip entirely. While corporate earnings boast record revenue per room, the long-term risk is alienation. Las Vegas can't survive on high rollers and whales alone. It needs volume, and volume depends on regular tourists feeling welcomed, not fleeced. So, that $12 coffee isn't just a bad joke. It's a perfect case study in how short-term greed erodes long-term loyalty. Close your eyes and picture Las Vegas in its heyday. Neon lights flashing, casino floors buzzing, endless buffets advertised at $9.99. Tourists weren't just drawn by the chance to hit it big at the tables. They came because Las Vegas promised something rare. World-class fun at everyday prices. It was a city where a truck driver, a schoolteacher, or a young couple on a budget could feel like a high roller for a weekend. That was the value Las Vegas sold to the world, and it built an empire. Now fast forward to today. Cheap buffets are nearly extinct, replaced by celebrity chef restaurants where dinner for two can rival a mortgage payment. Those legendary steak and egg specials are long gone. Even food courts, once a safety net for budget-conscious families, now charge $25 for a meal that might just be pizza and a soda. A city once defined by affordable abundance has become a place where every bite feels like a transaction designed to squeeze a little more from your wallet. Bill Hornbuckle tried to reassure his CNBC audience by pointing to $33 three-course meals and $5 beers. But anyone who's walked the Strip lately knows those prices belong to another era, or maybe another planet. The narrative of affordability has slipped from Las Vegas's grasp, replaced by tourist frustration and disbelief from those who expected more. When the promise doesn't match the reality, trust crumbles. Ironically, in chasing short-term profits, casinos may be sawing off the branch they're sitting on. Las Vegas's success wasn't built on jackpots or conventions alone. It was built on the perception of value. Families budgeted for trips because they knew they could eat well without breaking the bank. Tourists justified gambling losses because rooms, drinks, and food felt like a steal. Remove that foundation, and you're left with just another expensive city competing with Miami, Los Angeles, or New York, only without the beaches or cultural cachet. The consequences are real. Middle America, once the backbone of Las Vegas tourism, is quietly staying home or seeking alternatives. Locals lament that the Strip no longer feels like theirs. The city's global reputation as an affordable entertainment mecca is fading fast. This begs a bigger question. If Las Vegas abandons value, what kind of city will it become next? If you really want to understand what's happening in Las Vegas, just follow the money. On CNBC, Bill Hornbuckle didn't hide that MGM Resorts' record profits aren't coming from American tourists on the Strip. Instead, he pointed to Macau, digital gaming, and regional diversification. Translation: the company's future isn't about your weekend getaway in Vegas. It's about foreign markets and luxury gamblers. This explains why, even as U.S. visitor numbers slide, MGM's revenue per room hits new highs. The company no longer needs the schoolteacher flying in from Ohio or the bachelorette party from Canada. Guests who'd balk at a $12 coffee or a $45 room that balloons to $90 with fees. In markets like Macau or Saudi Arabia, which MGM openly courts, high rollers don't blink at a $1,000 dinner or a $50,000 hand at the tables. From a cold corporate perspective, why bother catering to middle-class tourists when overseas whales can deliver the same revenue in a single night? This strategy explains Hornbuckle's slip when he said MGM needs to be more sensitive to value, but quickly pivoted to international growth. For Vegas locals, this signals a shift. The city that once relied on volume, millions of regular people filling hotel rooms, eating at buffets, playing $5 blackjack, is no longer the priority. The Strip has become a showroom for investors, not a playground for everyday tourists. Ironically, Las Vegas was built by catering to the masses, offering glamour at bargain prices. Now, the very people who made it successful are being priced out and dismissed as the low end of the market. By focusing on overseas profits, executives are effectively telling American tourists, "We don't need you anymore." But this shift is risky. International markets are volatile, Macau is subject to Chinese government crackdowns, and Saudi Arabia's hospitality market is still experimental. If these bets fail and domestic tourists no longer feel loyal, MGM could find itself in trouble. In other words, by chasing whales, they risk alienating the base that sustained them. This is where the interview went from shocking to downright unbelievable. MGM Resorts CEO, Bill Hornbuckle, openly suggested that the U.S. government-led taxpayers should foot the bill for marketing American tourism. Let that sink in. MGM, a company proudly announcing record quarterly revenue, is asking Washington to cover part of its advertising costs. In his words, the U.S. cutting tourism funding from $100 million to $20 million is unsustainable. His solution: go back to Congress and ask for more. Consider the contradiction. On one hand, MGM reports soaring profits from luxury properties and overseas markets. On the other, its CEO complains that government support for marketing is too low. Should the average taxpayer, many of whom are already priced out of Las Vegas, really subsidize global ad campaigns for billion-dollar casino giants? To families struggling with rising grocery bills and housing costs, the idea sounds at best out of touch and, at worst, insulting. Hornbuckle framed it as an investment in American tourism, but the subtext is clear. MGM and its peers want public funds to prop up private profits. The irony stings. Las Vegas built loyalty by attracting customers with cheap value, needing little taxpayer intervention. Now, after years of squeezing guests with resort fees, inflated meal prices, and nickel-and-dime charges, those same executives want Uncle Sam to bail them out by bringing tourists back. The long-term risks are both reputational and financial. When companies that thrive on exclusivity also beg for public handouts, they undermine their own credibility. Tourists start to wonder, if MGM needs taxpayer subsidies to market Las Vegas, is the product itself strong enough to stand on its own? And locals, who already pay extra hotel taxes to fund projects like Allegiant Stadium, can't help but ask why their wallets should be tapped again to prop up executive balance sheets. For decades, Canadians were a lifeline for Las Vegas tourism. They flew south during harsh winters, filled hotel rooms in the summer, and made the Strip a second home. Entire marketing campaigns once targeted snowbirds, promising cheap buffets and affordable rooms just a short flight away. But in his CNBC interview, Bill Hornbuckle revealed how far this relationship has fallen. He acknowledged a staggering 40% drop in Canadian visitors, but brushed it off, noting, "Canadians are only 3% of our customer mix." On the surface, that might seem like a small number, but it hides a dismissive attitude. Canadian tourists, once treated as VIPs, are now an afterthought. For Las Vegas, this is a dangerous miscalculation. Canada isn't just a number, it's about loyalty. Many Canadians returned year after year, bringing extended families and word-of-mouth referrals. Losing them isn't just a 3% dip, it's an erosion of a reliable, long-term customer base that saw Las Vegas as part of their lifestyle. The reasons for the drop are obvious. Las Vegas's rising costs clash with a weakened Canadian dollar, making every purchase feel more painful. North of the border, a $90 hotel room with fees converts to nearly 125 Canadian dollars. Add in pricey meals, soaring airfares, and show tickets starting at hundreds of dollars, and a Vegas weekend suddenly rivals a European vacation. Pragmatic Canadian tourists are choosing alternatives: all-inclusive resorts in Mexico, Caribbean getaways, or domestic trips like Banff or Niagara Falls. What makes Hornbuckle's dismissal more striking is its tone deafness. Publicly implying, "We don't really need you," sends a louder message than he intended. To a Canadian audience, it feels like a demotion from valued guest to irrelevant. In an era when customer loyalty is fragile, those words sting. And they spread fast on social media. The broader consequences are both cultural and financial. Las Vegas has long prided itself on being international, a crossroads where Americans, Canadians, Europeans, and Asians meet under the neon. Dismissing one of its most steadfast audiences chips away at that image. It leaves an unsettling question hanging. If Canadians, once among Las Vegas's most loyal visitors, feel unwelcome, who's next? When asked how Las Vegas plans to rebound, Bill Hornbuckle leaned heavily on one word: events. Big-name concerts, championship boxing matches, NFL games at Allegiant Stadium. He claimed these would restore the city's momentum. On paper, it sounds compelling. Who wouldn't want to see Canelo in the ring or Paul McCartney on stage? But peel back the glitter, and the so-called event economy starts to look more like a mirage than a solution. Here's the problem. Tickets to these extravaganzas often start at hundreds of dollars and soar into the thousands. Hornbuckle boasted about 98% occupancy tied to such events, but he didn't mention the cost. A Paul McCartney ticket can run $3,000, before airfare, hotel fees, and food that might cost a family of four another $300 a day. The math is brutal. For middle-class tourists, the Las Vegas dream is no longer within reach. It's locked behind velvet ropes and platinum credit cards. For decades, Las Vegas thrived because regular people kept coming back. They planned bachelor parties, anniversaries, family trips, knowing they could live like kings for a weekend while still saving money. Today, those same families are crunching the numbers and deciding the Strip just isn't worth it anymore.